Yep, Chelsea walking out onto the pitch here at Vicarage Road, and they need to get a result here to get back into the top four. A draw will do it tonight for Chelsea. They would go back level on points with Arsenal. They would have a better goal difference than them. But Chelsea, I think it was widely regarded the opening months under Maurizio Sarri. This was a coach who was settling in well, who the players had responded well to, who was getting good results, and yet it's tapered off a little bit now. They've been beaten twice in the month of December. You've got to go back to the closing stages of the Jose Mourinho reign in 2015, when Chelsea last lost 3 Premier League games in the same month. Players are out going through the handshakes down below us. It's a night, Pat Nevin, when Chelsea need to stand up and show that they want to be part of the elite of the Premier League, because a lot of other teams are performing at a very high level at the moment. Can Chelsea keep up with them?
It's going to be difficult for them, because I think a lot of teams out there, I mean, Watford are certainly one of them, but Leicester, I mean, no one thinks that's going to be an easy game anymore. They're out fighting and battling everyone, and I'm delighted that this is actually happening in the Premier League now, because for a while there, it looked as if the top 4 or 5, whatever, would just cruise away from everyone else, and it would be just, and almost a lap of honour all the way to the end of the season for those 4 or 5 teams. Well, it's not happening like that now. And you're right, they have to go and put a run together. And everyone is talking about the same problems with Chelsea, centre forward, should it be Hazard? It is obviously today. Is the Jorginho thing going to work? Well, we will give you the insight on it tonight all the way through it.
So let's give you a full rundown of the teams. Both sides unchanged for their most recent game last weekend. Watford beat West Ham. Chelsea lost at home to Leicester. Ben Foster in goal for Watford. Back four, Kika Famida's the right back. Christian Cabaselli alongside Craig Cathcart in the middle. Jose Holebas, the Greek player, is on the left-hand side. Then in midfield, it's a flat four. Ken Sema on the right. Abdoulaye Doucouré, Etienne Capoue, and Roberto Pereira. And then up front, Gerard Deulofeu in support of Troy Deeney, who's now up to 3 goals this season, scored against West Ham on Saturday. The Chelsea team, exact same as the weekend. Keeper Arita Balaga, the goalkeeper. Back four, Cesar Azpilicueta, Antonio Rudiger, David Luiz, Marcos Alonso, who's now started every Premier League game this season for Chelsea so far. In midfield, Jorginho, Kovacic and Kante, and then up front, Willian and Pedro, either side of Eden Hazard, who scored against Watford here in this game last season. That was the game that Watford won by 4 goals to 1. The Watford players going into a huddle near the centre circle, away to our left-hand side. Chelsea players are all stretched out in their formations. None of them are talking to each other. They've all got their game faces on, and we're awaiting kick-off on the latest of a very busy day of football on 5 Live. We've brought you all the action so far. We are hoping that we're keeping the best to last. It's Watford against Chelsea in the Premier League, and we are about to get underway.
And we're going to keep an eye on Chelsea, because they have lined up in front of us in a very, very strict looking 4-4-2. Now we'll see if that carries on with Willian up front along with Hazard. Teams when they line up like that would allow Kante to go deep alongside Jorginho. We shall see if that continues.
Kovacic is starting on the left-hand side of midfield. Pedro is starting on the right of midfield, a more deep position than we might normally expect him to be. Roberto Pereira tries to control on his chest and fails to do so, and Chelsea regain possession far side of the field from us. Watford in their traditional yellow and black. Chelsea in the blue shirts, blue shorts and white socks. Chelsea playing right to left as we look down. Roberto Pereira, when he got off the Watford team bus outside at the stadium, was wearing a Santa Claus hat, so hopefully setting the mood for some festivities as David Luiz rolls it short to Antonio Rudiger. Halfway line, Chelsea in possession. Jorginho back to Azpilicueta, back into the middle again for Rudiger. Watford backing off Chelsea here, allowing them have possession as David Luiz plays it direct forward, trying to pick out Eden Hazard. It ricochets off the boot of the Belgian, and Watford tried to clear it away in the counter-attack, but immediately Chelsea regained possession. Kovacic back to Marcos Alonso, a few feet forward to Willian, and then he'll turn back to the edge of the penalty area with David Luiz rolls it back to the Spanish goalkeeper Aretha Balaga. Watford 0, Chelsea 0, 1 minute played here on 5 Live for the BBC. Match of the day tonight, 10:20 on BBC One. There's already a lot of goals filling up that programme as David Luiz searches for a pass to pick out Aretha Balaga. Azpilicueta, the other one, down the right hand side. N'Golo Kante is in support of him, and they're not going to play it into the penalty area. Chelsea holding on to possession back into the midfield. David Luiz helps it on to Marcos Alonso on the left hand side. Kovacic gets a touch. Willian low to the feet of Azar. It's all Chelsea at the moment. Kovacic still out on this left wing position, pushes it ahead of him. Marcos Alonso tries to send it across, takes a deflection, and good goalkeeping by Ben Foster to ensure that it doesn't go for a corner.
And you watch Chelsea doing that. They hold the ball so well, everybody knows that they're quite capable of doing that. That's what Sarri ball's all about. But then I don't think Watford look particularly spooked by that. I mean, they say, yeah, you have it there, you pass it there, you still have to get through our lines here. And although they play, they call it a 4-2-2-2, it's mostly a 4-4-2 they're playing. But by the way, up there in Chelsea, they've went back to normal. They're playing, it's basically a 4-3-3, Hazard up front centrally. So all teams, players as expected, systems as expected. Yeah, Chelsea will have the ball. Just one moment there when David Luiz got the ball behind Holebas at left full back there. That might be something to watch out for tonight.
Chelsea fans have come in good numbers, relatively local journey for them. As the crow flies, just 16 miles between Stamford Bridge and Vicarage Road. Obviously takes quite a while to get here. You won't do that 16 miles in 16 minutes.
If you drive that, the Metropolitan line's perfectly fine for some of us. That ball I was telling you about just a moment ago.
David Luiz pings it over to the far side. Pedro controls, attacking the edge of the Watford penalty area, rolls it low to the feet of Willian. Back to Pedro, shooting position, whips it just wide of the target. Low to the left of the post. Pedro didn't stand on ceremony there. He was keen to get a shot in. He got it away just off target.
There's a bit of uncertainty really about Ben Foster. We've got a monitor just in front of us here, and I don't think he didn't really move for it. It was really quite surprising. So had that crept in the corner, which it almost did, I'm not sure if Foster would have got to that. Good movement. That play, David Luiz, left centre back, 60-70 yards, pinged right to Pedro's foot. That's a move which we've tried twice, and I suspect it will keep on happening.
Watford have kept a clean sheet against West Ham on Saturday. That was their first clean sheet in any competition since October, but Foster didn't seem too worried there about the first dangerous shot from Chelsea in the game. 0-0 at Vicarage Road. And a long clearance from Watford up over the halfway line. Troy Deeney, accurate cushioned header down for Etienne Capoue, who's scored a couple of goals against Chelsea over the last 2 seasons. Pereira helping out Deeney on the far side. Now they're whipping infield towards Deulofeu. He did well there to spin David Luiz, and he then tried to control it as he continued the swivel, but he just couldn't get it under his control, the Spaniard, and it rolls through to his compatriot Aretha Balaga away to our right hand side. So Chelsea come out from defence again.
What an improved player Deulofeu looks, doesn't he? I mean, he's enjoying playing much more central. You know, he's playing wide or left obviously when he's here in his first spell. He looked a bit left out, you know, and a bit sorry for himself not getting enough of the ball, but now he's more central. Even though he's not the tallest, it doesn't matter. He's good on the ball, and he's got a real belief about him just now, and he's got good pace as well, which will slightly spook David Luiz there.
Earlier on today in the top flight, Fulham 1, Wolves 1. Everton won by 5-1 away at Burnley. 0-0 between Crystal Palace and Cardiff. Leicester beat Manchester City 2-1. Liverpool top of the league and stretching that lead. They beat Newcastle 4-0 at Anfield. Manchester United in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first home game in charge beat Huddersfield 3-1. Tottenham put 5 past Bournemouth at Wembley, and it was 1-1 in that tea time game between Brighton and Arsenal. This is the evening kick-off in the Premier League. 0-0 so far between Watford and Chelsea, and Pedro has possession 5 yards into the Watford half. Skips to the top, great ball, controlled on the outside of his boot by Willian. That's taking him out towards the corner flag. Pedro's making a run into the middle. Kovacic is up there as well. Willian wriggling away out by the corner flag, eventually gives it short back to N'Golo Kante, and Chelsea will retreat all the way back into their own half again, and Chelsea will be pleased to Watford will be pleased to push them back.
Well, oddly they keep on leaving David Luiz. You'll probably mention him more than anyone else. There's a little break on here before we go any further.
This is Ken Sema trying to get away, but talk about pressure. 4 blue jerseys swarm around him, and immediately Ken Sema's relieved of possession.
Yeah, I mean, they're leaving Luiz on the ball, but Luiz has got some brilliant passing ability, and the ball's on from there. He's almost got Kante through there, and a couple of times in Pedro as well.
Here comes Aspilicueta down the right hand side. David Luiz has just been in an animated conversation there with Maurizio Sarri. Here comes across.
I know what he's saying, by the way. I know exactly what he's saying, and I'll tell you in a moment.
Pedro gives it back to N'Golo Kante. Chelsea still on the attack. Pedro with a chance to look up here, midway inside the Watford half. 10 men back behind the ball for the home side. Rudiger to Jorginho in the middle of a very congested midfield. Kovacic turns away from Doucouré. That's good. Gives it out to the right hand side. Pedro with Aspilicueta outside him to the byline. Tries to send in the cross, blocked away by Holebas, but it goes off the Chelsea player on the way out, and that will be a throw into Watford. Still no goals here.
And they're not spooked at all. Again, down that right hand side there, you get Willian trying to get the ball. Pedro trying to get the ball in the box. But who are they trying to get the ball in the box to? The only people is Eden Hazard, is not the tallest, and maybe now and again Kovacic trying to get in there, and also Kante. So any balls sort of lobbed in high are not going to be that dangerous unless the likes of Alonso comes up. I'll tell you what David Luiz was having a dig about. He knows there's a ball over the top on. He knows it. There's a massive big gap, and he wants Kante to do the running from midfield more than he's doing just now, and he wants Willian to do it more than he's doing just now. He's seen that ball on probably 4 or 5 times already, and he doesn't think he's getting enough running in front of him. So that's why he's in a shout over here at Sarri.
Watford have possession just outside their own penalty area. Christian Cabaselli goes long himself, trying to get it in behind the Chelsea defence. It's a good leap by Deeney. Deulofeu in pursuit here as David Luiz jumps on the edge of his own penalty area, cushions it down for Marcus Alonso, and that clears out for a Watford throw. And some applause from the Watford fans. They have a throw inside the Chelsea half. Watford, who are looking for their 3rd win in a row. It's been a successful season for them so far. Win for Watford tonight would take them ahead of Everton and ahead of Leicester, and they would be breathing down the necks of the top 6. Throw in for Kiko Firmino, who takes very much his time over it, eventually back to Cabaselli, and Cabaselli all the way back to the goalkeeper Ben Foster again. So from a throw-in inside the Chelsea half, Watford retreat. Now they go long. Foster pumps it deep, but Aspilicueta backpedaling was all over that. Roberto Pereira picks up possession, halfway line on the far side. I remember being here back in October when he scored a wonderful individual goal against Huddersfield. He hasn't scored since then, actually. Pereira, as Jorginho here wins back possession in the midfield. Willian nods it back to David Luiz, and with Deulofeu buzzing around him like a wasp, he just turns, rolls it back to Alonso, and eventually back to the goalkeeper. Oh, he's messed it up. Here's a chance for Watford. Deulofeu tried to backheel it to Deeney after the goalkeeper completely fluffed his clearance. Deulofeu tried to do some quick thinking, and his execution of the backheel was not as slick as he would have wanted. Otherwise, Deeney could have had a shot at goal. Pat Neville.
Yeah, but that's classic what Watford are trying to do. They're trying to just break now and again. However, they've left too many men up front.
Chance of a counter-attack for Chelsea. Kovacic puts it in front of Willian. Look at that for speed. Goes around the goalkeeper, and it's cleared. Now Cabaselli's hurt himself here. He was sliding back to get it in front of his own goal line. He is clattered into the post. It was a really awkward collision the way he hit it there. Willian, having gone around the goalkeeper, was trying to shoot it in. I wonder actually would it have hit the post. Cabaselli couldn't know, and do you know what he's done? He slid in, and his armpit has collided, I think, into the post here. His leg goes the outside, boom, into his elbow, into his armpit. That will really hurt. He wasn't tense in that sort of his part of his body. His legs would have been ready for the collision, but not his upper body, and he's down and motionless at the moment. That has got to hurt. What a chance though for Willian. It's still 0-0.
Well, 2 great moments in the game so far, and it's the problem that Watford have got. It's a good problem. They go and chase now and again. They managed to close down Kepa, the goalkeeper, and he almost gives them it. Chelsea got away with it, but because they put so many players up front, Chelsea can use their pace, and boy did they use their pace incredibly well there. The ball's played out from the right hand side. They didn't make the best of it. Deeney didn't get on the ball, and maybe Deulofeu should have done slightly better, but the break was lightning quick. There was no doubt that we're talking about players not making enough movement behind. On that occasion, Willian did. Phenomenal pace. But that injury, as you say, that looks, you can't tell from here, we're too far away. We have seen one replay, but you can break your arm doing that. Yeah. You can easily break your arm. His elbow's gone straight in there. You can dislocate a shoulder. I can tell you one thing, he's in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Whatever's happened, he looks in a lot of pain there.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if he continues here. They're working on his upper back at the moment, just making sure everything is okay. Break in play here. Adrian Mariappa's gone for a warm-up run. He might be needed as a replacement centre-half for Watford. 0-0 here. It does give us a chance to analyse both of those opportunities, Pat. Let's start with Chelsea. Clearly, terrible clearance from Azpilicueta giving the ball away. Hindsight is 2020, but did Deulofeu do the right thing trying to backheel that, or should he have just tried to turn and shoot himself?
There's not a lot of time there, and in the end he's done the wrong thing, because
they didn't score.
They didn't score, and he's tried the back heel and it didn't reach Troy Deeney, who was trying to reach there. However, he knows where Deeney is. He's trying to find him. He's got within about a foot of him. Had he turned, Kepa would have had enough time to get himself back in his goal, and it would have been much tougher chance. So the split seconds, it was happening really, really quickly. It's just because it was such a bad pass out from the goalkeeper, from Chelsea goalkeeper, you expect a little bit better to come out, at least a shot on target from it.
And then the outcome of that is why teams do play these short pass outs from the goalkeeper, because they want to suck the opponents in. With that chance, Watford did all step up a bit. Bang! Chelsea hit them on the counter-attack, and it wasn't the greatest pass ever from Kovacic, but the speed of Willian got into him there ahead of the goalkeeper, goes around the keeper, and then it's clear just in front of the post by Cabaselli.
You're right to make the point that Chelsea, when Kepa didn't actually pass it out, he got caught. He then didn't go and lump it long. What he then did is he played it out to Azpilicueta, and Azpilicueta then starts a short passing move himself. Of course, Watford at that point are dragged into the corner, and Chelsea played it out incredibly well. So, we were really unlucky not to score there. Willian did very well, but it looks as if he's up now.
Yeah, 10 minutes played. Watford for the moment playing on with 10 men. Cabaselli is still receiving treatment behind that goal. Mariappa has gone so far as to take off the tracksuit top, but now they've put a bib on him, and Cabaselli is making a slow walk from right behind the goals along the byline. I mean, he's not moving at any great measure, you would say. They're sort of doing a bit of physio work on him right now. Chelsea played it over the top. Kovacic cantering after it, but it goes out of play for a goal kick to Watford. Ben Foster looking concerned there to the teammate Cabaselli, who's right alongside it, but he's breaking into a jog now. And applause for the Watford fans, and showing real bravery there defending for his team. Thankfully, it looks like Christian Cabaselli is going to be okay.
Yeah, he's moving much more freely now. In the end, you want it to be a bruise. That's going to hurt an awful lot tomorrow morning. He's going to struggle sleeping tonight with that. But when he's strong, he's not hurt his legs or anything. He's got enough movement in his back, and he's back on there. However, in the midst of talking about that there, Kovacic was almost through again with that precise same ball. I was explaining, this time right to left, over the top, and Kovacic, who's not lightning quick, he was almost in there. So there is a weakness in that back line for Watford just now, which they have to do something about.
Throw in for Watford on the far side of the pitch from us. Capoue rolls it to the halfway line. Craig Cathcart, who started every Premier League game this season so far for Watford. First touch for Cabaselli's an uncertain one. I think as he twisted his body to kick the ball there, he felt a dart of pain. He gave it away. Watford won it back again quickly. Pereira here towards the edge of the penalty area, and Deulofeu, who turns in a wide arc, rolls it in low to the feet of Troy Deeney. He can't control it. Chance of another Chelsea counter-attack, but Willian's effort to pump it over the top for Hazard is cut out by Cabaselli, who's not going to be able to continue. He's twirling his hands in that motion to the bench to suggest that a substitution is needed. Kiko doesn't know that and passes the ball to Cabaselli, who allows it past his body and back to the goalkeeper Foster. But Watford are going to need a change here, and they put the ball out of play to facilitate that. Still 0-0. Pat Nevin.
Well, what I tried to do is Chelsea did what any good team would do. They isolated him immediately. So Hazard goes straight on to him. They tried to play a long ball over the top. Now the ball didn't get over the top, but he knew immediately there's no way he's going to have the pace to stay with Hazard, Willian and Pedro, and when you know that, you cannot take a chance to stay on.
It's like watching one of those David Attenborough wildlife things, the
wounded animal,
and they swarm around and they know there's a problem there.
Sadly, we all do that in football. That is sadly the
survival of the fittest.
I'm afraid if any player's injured, you're immediately onto it. And,
well, look, he came back out to play, so we would hope it is not extremely serious, but we did have the suspicion immediately that was going to be painful for Christian Cabaselli, so he makes way. On comes Adrian Mariappa to replace him, and a big cheer for Cabaselli and the bravery he showed, but Javi Gracia is forced into an early change here. Watford 0, Chelsea 0. Long clearance from Foster. They're trying to exploit the pace of Pereira down the left-hand side. It bounces into his pass. The cross comes Azpilicueta and puts it out for a Watford throw. This is very much on the attack down the left-hand side as Watford come forward. It's thrown back to Etienne Capoue, and he in turn gives it back to the halfway line to Cathcart. Now the ball over the top. This time it's Holebas who's come forward. Azpilicueta called into defensive duty again. Holebas trying to get his head up, trying to see where the teammates are. Wriggling, jiggling, gets into a little bit of space, plays it back again to Capoue, straight back to Holebas again, and I don't think Holebas wanted it there, and he retreats to the halfway line and gives it to Cathcart. Capoue in a spot of trouble here, in danger of giving it away, does give it away. Willian unable to take advantage of that error though, and Deulofeu quickly recovers possession for Watford, playing from left to right as we look down. Full house here at Vicarage Road. Good atmosphere in a Boxing Day evening where it's cold, but there's no real breeze. It's not any rain either. Good conditions here for football. Deulofeu wearing the gloves, rolls it out to Kika Firmini on the right hand side. Chance to steady himself, sends the cross into the middle. Stooping header down was by Doucouré. Couldn't get any power on it, and it's easily gathered by the Chelsea goalkeeper Kepa.
Just a shame that, because had Troy Deeney taken a little chance there and just gambled, I think he could have got in there. There was only a millisecond to get there. He didn't get on the end of it. But the first 14-15 minutes, I think Watford's game plan was just to sit back, take a little bit of the pressure, not really get on the ball much, just trying to hold off. I think they're now taking much more part of the game. They look a lot more confident. They're pushing a little bit further forward. And I just wonder if they're giving themselves a little bit of rest, because in the midst of the amount of games that are on at the moment, the high energy game they like to play, it's going to be tough to do that for 90 minutes every time.
We're into the 18th minute. Chelsea have had one chance of note when Willian went around the goalkeeper, but Cabaselli was sliding back. I think it probably would have hit the post or the side netting anyway, but Cabaselli wasn't to know that. Chelsea, who were unbeaten for their opening 12 games in the Premier League this season, but just recently they've lost 3 of their last 6. This is the first big test for Maurizio Sarri since coming to English football, and it's interesting to see how he's responding. That's very strong play by Sima, and he forced the foul out of David Luiz, who knew that Ken Sima was wriggled free of his clutches. David Luiz wasn't going to let him escape, commits the foul, free kick to Watford inside the Chelsea half.
Well, I don't want to worry too many Chelsea fans out there, but David Luiz is having one of his excitable days today. Just trying to get in front of players a little bit too often and not quite getting there. Now on the ball he's looking absolutely fantastic, but Watford have spotted that, and certainly Deulofeu, he knows that if he can get the other side of David Luiz, he's not going to catch him.
Yeah, it's a wonderful sight for the neutral when David Luiz is having one of his excitable days, because he might score from 35 yards, he might give away a penalty. I mean, who knows what's going to happen. Free kick to Watford. Holebas has come over from the left-hand side of the defence. This is a long way out, but it's a position to dink one into the penalty area, see who can get a knock down. Chelsea are holding a high line here, well outside the penalty area. It will be Holebas to take, left-footed. Oh, that's a great delivery. There was space at the back post for Sima, who didn't connect with his first touch properly. He did manage to scramble across, but by then the element of surprise was gone, and Aretha Balaga was able to make the save. Now, was that a very good free kick, Pat Nevin, or was that bad Chelsea defending? How did Sima have that much space?
He got far too much. He just peeled off the back. There was a good block, to be fair. I mean, you've got to see that, it's a very hard thing to stop, the block. So it was a good block. One defender's taken out of it at the back post there, and he found himself, didn't get quite the contact on it he wanted. So you could say it's bad defended, but I'd rather say well done the attack to make sure the block was good, and he got in there for half a chance.
0-0 is the scoreline. 4-1 last season when Chelsea came here. 4-1 to Watford that was, as Rudiger plays it forward nicely through Hazard. Hazard's had a quiet start to the game, you have to say, for a player of his extremely high standards. We've not mentioned his name very often. Flicks it back to Pedro, now infield to Kovacic. That was a good ball, and then a terrible ball from Kovacic. Too powerful, no chance for Willian to control that, and it harmlessly goes out for a goal kick.
Yeah, you're right about Eden Hazard. I mean, very, very little impact in the game so far. When he's playing in the position that he openly says himself, it's not his favourite position as a centre forward. You call it almost a false nine, but he's not played as a false nine today. He's played right up there against the two centre backs. And there have been 1 or 2 chances where he's tried to run long with the ball, but he's got absolutely nothing out of defenders so far.
David Luiz clears straight to Doucouré in the middle of the midfield. Now Kiko Firmino will come forward midway into the Chelsea half, right hand side as Watford comes forward. Pereira has come across from his position on the left wing to sit on the right hand side now. Capoue under pressure from Willian is forced to turn and play it back to Mariappa, the substitute who came on for the injured Christian Kabasele. If you're just joining us in 5 Live, 0-0 here at Vicarage Road in the Premier League. Watford holding Chelsea at bay in the opening stages and certainly growing into the game now where they've actually enjoyed the best of the last few minutes. That's a poor clearance though by Ben Foster, straight to Jorginho. Pedro wasn't able to take it with him. Doucouré will mop up on the edge of the penalty area, gives it to Jose Holebas, and then a left-footed clearance high up towards the halfway line. Deulofeu there set off in a run. Well, that was miles away because he knew Deeney was going to win it in the air. He trusted his teammate. Deeney did win it in the air, but he was pushed and he's picked up an injury. He goes down. Referee stops play.
I just wonder about whether actually he is going to give a free kick to Watford. I think it was Chelsea or a bounce ball.
Yeah, I think it was just because it was a head injury that he stopped play. You're right, Pat.
Yeah, I think Rudiger was just strong there, and Deeney's giving the ball back. Look, I have to say, I adore Deeney as a footballer. He just gets on with it, doesn't he? Old school, all that sort of stuff. I mean, lots of other players would roll around holding their face there for the next 3 minutes, but not him. Get on with it. Well done, him.
Troy Deeney has scored 2 goals in the last 3 seasons against Chelsea. Kovacic here gives it to Willian on the left wing. Kiko Firmino's backing away from him. Quick touch from Hazard. Marcos Alonso's come to join the attack on the left hand side. Watford working very hard off the ball to try and get it, but Jorginho now more centrally dinks it into the penalty area. Marcos Alonso was in there. Mariappa controls in his lower stomach area. There's a few appeals, he might have handled it, but it's cleared away from Watford all the way back to the Chelsea goalkeeper Aretha Balaga, away to our right hand side. 0-0. There's only been one scoreless draw between Watford and Chelsea since the mid-80s. We're virtually guaranteeing there'll be goals tonight, Pat. Such has been the manner of the Premier League today. There's only been one scoreless draw in the top flight so far. Today, this is N'Golo Kante. Giving it back to Azpilicueta, slightly awkward position to receive it in, but he does well under pressure and rolls it into Rudiger. And Chelsea now to the near touchline, their left, controlled on the upper chest by Marcos Alonso, rolls it low to the feet of Eden Hazard, traps it under the studs. Capoue slips behind him, then he manages to push up Sima. This is better from Hazard, gets to the edge of the penalty area, goes down under the challenge from Doucouré. Referee was right beside that and said it's a fair challenge, and Watford clear away.
I'm with the referee in that one. Hazard done brilliantly to go past 2 or 3 players there. I just think he was running out of legs at that point in time and just fell over. Well done, referee, good possession.
A little tete-a-tete down on the touchline between Javi Gracia and Maurizio Sarri, who had differing opinions as to whether that should have been a free kick. It's the first time, Pat, in the game that we've seen Hazard in full flow there, taking on defenders, forcing them to back away off him. That's what Chelsea fans want to see a little bit more of, I think, in this game.
Yeah, and I think football fans enjoy watching Hazard at his best. The problem is with Eden Hazard in that position. Eden Hazard's a very, very good player when he's back to the play, but he's an unbelievably good player with his foot running at players. That's the first time he's run at anyone yet, because he's playing centre forward and he's back to the play most of the time, and that's why he has to play more of a false 9, get a little bit deeper so that his first touch he can turn, move and attack players, and he's not been able to do that until that moment there.
Yes, you combine goals and assists. Hazard's been involved in more of them than any other player in the Premier League this season. And Chelsea could do with a breakthrough here as N'Golo Kante expertly wins possession on the far side. Just hacked it to Pereira, won the ball. Referee was happy with the challenge. Hazard, though, gives it away 15 yards outside the penalty area, and Watford roll it back to the goalkeeper, Ben Foster. So, Pat, much discussed. Why is N'Golo Kante playing in a new position? Why isn't he the anchor man? It was that challenge of Pereira what Maurizio Sarri is looking for, to win the ball in the wide area, to win it further up the field.
Hi, if you win it, and he's the best in the business at winning the ball back, if you win it 30 yards further up the field, you know what a difference it made. And the other week there, he made one and he scored one the week afterwards, so he can do that.
Still 0-0. Here comes Pedro towards the edge of the penalty area, trying to clip it in towards Hazard. Hazard, who's playing as the main target man through the middle. He's got Willian to one side, he's got Pedro to his other side. He's playing that sort of false 9 role. They don't have a target man on the pitch. They do have Olivier Giroud available on the bench should he be required. And N'Golo Kante here in a wide right position, turns, rolls it back to Azpilicueta, and now Jorginho uses both feet to shuffle it on to Kovacic, strongly holds off Doucouré, and Chelsea here midway inside the Watford half, having a lot of possession here, but can they get into the box? Hazard too far in front of Pedro, then it spills away. Holebas should be able to clear. That's a little bit too clever as he pushes it in front of Pereira, and that risks losing possession, which is exactly what happens. Azpilicueta Forward for Willian. Across comes Hullabas. Better clearance this time up to the halfway line to pick out Deeney. Deeney, who's playing a great hold-up role in that number 9 position, does give it to Pereira, who slipped at the inopportune moment, and that allows Chelsea to regain possession. 25 minutes played. Watford 0, Chelsea 0. Hazard is clattered into by Mariappa. Free kick Chelsea near the centre circle. Pat Neville.
And that's what he has to do, Hazard. He needs to get the ball, turn very, very quickly, run at players. He will get taken out the play, and what he needs to do is get players booked so that they have to stand off him even more. He will then get chances to run at players. But at the moment, I have to say, hugely impressed so far with Watford. I think they've defended well. They've not looked particularly panicked. And even when Chelsea have got the ball around the box and look comfortable with the ball, certainly Watford think, yeah, you keep it there. You've got to get something very special through us, or you're over the top of us to beat us. And at the moment, it's not happening very often.
Well, hang on a sec, here comes Decore, midway inside the Chelsea half. Low, early ball into Deulofeu, back to Decore. Oh, that's a great touch into the penalty area, and blocked away by Jorginho. Just as Decore had pulled the trigger, was letting fly with a shot. Brave defending by Jorginho. That's why Maurizio Sarri loves him so much, and Chelsea survive.
Yeah, just about survived there. I think Rudiger has to dive into this challenge here, but Decore, absolutely brilliant. He sells him the biggest stomach. He's just about going out of the stadium there. But good tackling there for Jorginho. Look, that's not his strong point, Jorginho. He's not a great tackler. He's not always the best at going and covering areas, but that's what he has to add a little bit to his game, because the second midfielder, whoever he is, has to do that. Now, have a look at what's going on here. I thought it was a throw-in, and David Luiz thinks it's a free kick, and the referee and the assistant referee don't seem to know either. Well, it's a free kick for Chelsea.
Free kick for Chelsea. If we're assuming that Willian's shot wasn't going on target, Pat, and I'm not 100% sure of this, but I think that was going to hit the post or just go wide, it means that 27 minutes in, we've not had a shot on target in the game.
Yeah, and that's not that unusual for Chelsea this season. Early in games, they want to sort of wear teams down, and eventually, if they get a goal, then it draws teams out. They seem to be able to control early parts of games recently, but then fade a bit. There was a fade against Wolves, wasn't there? There was a fade against Leicester. So, Watford will be thinking that. They'll be expecting and hoping that will happen in this game as well.
Kovacic, 10 yards outside the penalty area. Good ball out to Pedro. First time cross back into the middle, but he was in front to the cavalry arriving. Hazard was at the front post. Willian at the back post. It flashed between both of those and the goalkeeper, and in fact flashed across the penalty area and out for a throw.
Yeah, the classic centre forwards, the Aubameyangs, etc. of this world. That's a dream ball in there for them. And you'd almost put Giroud in there as well. It's a player between the centre backs and the goalkeeper, but Hazard wasn't within about 4 or 5 feet of it, and he is a fabulous player, but he's not a natural centre forward who goes to that position.
Well, here's one for you. We've played 28 minutes. Hazard has not touched the ball in the Watford penalty area yet. He's not touched the ball inside his own half either. He's sort of been between those two lines. That's where Eden Hazard's been playing in the game so far.
Yeah, and to be honest, he would much rather play 10 yards deeper, but he would need to have a centre forward in front of him to be able to do that with the way this team's actually set up just now. Having said that, don't take anything away from Watford. They're defending so well, they're working incredibly hard. Every player's putting the effort in, and they're mixing it up a bit as well. One of my favourite parts about Watford, watching them the other week there against Everton and watching them today, sometimes they just leave one up, Troy Deeney. Other times it's him and Deulofeu. There's been a few times in this game where they've been under pressure. They have left 4 up the field, and you're thinking, are you tired? Or, well, actually, is this part of the plan? You're comfortable back there, just leave enough up for the break. And they are very, very hard to read sometimes.
0-0 here at Vicarage Road for now. After the live football tonight, 6:06 on 5 Live, myself and Pat will be taking your calls. I think I'm going to take a wild stab here, Pat, but I think Liverpool fans are going to want to come on 5 Live tonight and talk to us.
Yeah, and tell us why, they're going to win the league. Jurgen can't say that. Of course he can't say it. He's not stupid, because he's made himself a hostage to fortune and could be suggested as being arrogant. And that Manchester City are a fabulous team, but you've got to say they are not only in the conversation, but they're seriously involved in that conversation now. And unless they get an injury to 1 or 2 players, and I would say there's only 1 player in that team now that they cannot afford to do without. So I think everybody knows you can phone up.
Yeah, well.
And by the way, it's not Mo Salah for once.
No, indeed. But I think you could say that of a few. I think Manchester City missing Fernandinho when he's not involved, and people mightn't have thought he was the most important cog in the machine, but he can be if he's not involved. Manchester City have slipped to third, Tottenham up into second. Wouldn't it be brilliant if we got a proper 3-horse race for the title? Here comes Willian for Chelsea, 0-0 here away at Watford tonight on 5 Live for the BBC. This is Hazard dragging the ball back under his studs, trying to keep it away from Kensima. This is Marcus Alonso, infield to Jorginho. Good closing down by Deulofeu, not allowing Jorginho to get his head up, but Jorginho to swivel away and gives it back out to Willian on the left-hand side. Quick swing of the hips from him to try and get away from trouble. Back to Jorginho, bit more room now to manoeuvre. Pedro helps it on first time. N'Golo Kante turns in the penalty area. Collision from Holebas. Kante, if he'd gone down there, there'd have been huge roars for a penalty, but he stood his ground, and Watford managed to clear it away. And Troy Deeney in a tussle with Rudiger, and that's really good from Deeney. And now Pereira is attacking the penalty area. 2 up with him, tries to give it across to Doucouré. Here he is. Doucouré shoots too high. Disappointing end to an exhilarating counter-attack from Watford. All started by the piano lifting of Troy Deeney on the halfway line.
Do you know what? That absolutely is the game in microcosm, isn't it? Chelsea, good, comfortable possession around the 18-yard line of the Watford defence, but they don't look in danger, the Watford defence. They're just sitting there, taking it, waiting till they get a little bit of a nick, they get it off the field, and Deeney was brilliant. You're absolutely right there. He was magnificent, his strength to hold up. However, Chelsea are on the attack again.
Here comes Pedro, just outside the penalty area, right hand side as Chelsea come forward. Azpilicueta crosses, Hazard should have scored. It's a fresh air shot from Eden Hazard. He's inside the 6-yard box, he's right in front of the goal. I don't know, was he trying a fancy flick or something? Anyway, play resumes. Willian back into the penalty area. Hazard with his back to goal is forced to play it backwards. What a chance that was for Chelsea. Arguably the clearest cut opportunity of the game.
Oh, by a country mile it is. I mean, it is zipped across. It is absolutely belted across there. But Hazel's already in there. He just needs to get any part of his body, any part of his foot on the end of it. Straight through, fresh air shot, and he's got it. He can't believe it.
12 minutes to go to half-time, still no goals. Pedro 15 yards outside the penalty area, back to Jorginho, now Kovacic. Chelsea beginning to step it up a little bit. Willian just outside the penalty area on the left-hand side, dummies across the first time, turns back, nothing but patient at the moment, Chelsea, as Alonso joins the attack on the left. Infield to Kovacic again, level with the edge of the penalty area, and now David Luiz is midway inside the Watford half and looking for options. Tries to roll it in front of his fellow Brazilian Willian, but it's cut out by Kiko Firmino. Deulofeu now has it for Watford, midway inside his own half. Back to Kiko Firmino with good feet, but ultimately a poor pass. Gives it away, and Chelsea come again, Pat.
Yeah, they do, but I mean, it's that comfort they've got. However, 1-2, good possession for Hazard.
Hazard in front of Pedro, too far in front of Pedro. He's been pushed out wide. There certainly appeals that Hazard might have been fouled there. Cross from N'Golo Kante. Doucouré's header away. Willian will keep it alive. Comment from Pat in a moment. Chelsea still on the attack. That was a big opportunity. Willian with his head up, trying to see where the options are. Shuffles to his right hand side, gives it low. Back to Jorginho, 15 yards outside the penalty area. Alonso to his left hand side. Now Kovacic on the further left. All 11 men back behind the ball for Watford as Jorginho tries to prise away through. That's brilliant. Shot off the right boot. The lesser spotted right boot of Marcus Alonso is disappointed. No bend at all. Flashes 10 yards wide. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, but they've upped the pace a little bit. The last 3 or 4 minutes there, Chelsea have zipped it. Sarri often talks about, yes, it's all very well passing and having lots and lots of the ball, but you need to move it quickly to put other teams under pressure. We've just seen another little replay on us here. The ball zipped across there to Hazard. No, it's just a complete and utter fresh air shot. He tried to go with his right foot, and he's totally and utterly missed it. I think he's maybe, it's unfair to say he's trying to be too cute, but the goalkeeper's coming close to him there, so he's trying to give it as light a touch as he can to put it into the far corner. In the end, with the pace that it's going there, you just redirect. He knows that now, by the way.
Yes, hindsight is a wonderful thing.
But Chelsea, that has to be said, they have actually stepped up again. The game, as I say, in microcosm, Chelsea got lots and lots of possession. They're passing it really neatly around that 18-yard line. They're not getting through very often at all. Now and again, there's a wide cross. However, the danger in the break from Watford is always there, and you think that's the way the game's going to go, at least until the hour mark, until the changes are made.
10 minutes to half time, no goals, but it's an enjoyable game. Watford goalkeeper Ben Foster has it away to our left-hand side, plays it long over the halfway line, met by the forehead of Marcus Alonso, and then Kiko Firmino keeps it alive onto Deulofeu. So chance for another one of these Watford counter-attacks. Chelsea's possession has been 70-30 so far. Here comes Deulofeu, goes around David Luiz. Was he tripped there?
No.
Well, I'm not sure he was. I think he was making the most of that. Deulofeu goes down, he's appalled. David Luiz stands statuesque and says, well, I didn't touch him. The referee's assistant was very close to that, and my instinct, Pat, is that Deulofeu's dived. What do you think?
Well, I thought so as well, but I'm going to watch it again and give him he dived, and that should be a yellow card. Simple as that, no more to it. It's and he's done it right in front of the Chelsea fans who are making their feelings heard. Do you know, he was going at such a pace, you were almost wanting to give them the benefit of the doubt, because he cut across Luiz so well. But it's a horrible, ugly dive by Deulofeu. I'm only surprised that Luiz is not more angry about it.
I think David Luiz's hand did touch the shoulder of Deulofeu. I think he thought, okay, I have touched him, but like nothing like the reaction to how dramatically Deulofeu went to ground. Kovacic here, 10 yards outside his own penalty area, sets off at a surge, good stride, up to the halfway line, fouled just after he releases the pass. Here is Hazard, he's got Marcus Alonso with him, two in the middle now, here comes the cross into the centre. Hazard is going to get it, but back to goal. Watford fans encouraging their players to get back. They had been on the attack, and most of them made a great lung-busting run to get back into a defensive position. Chelsea have been held up here on the edge of the Watford penalty area, still 0-0 on 5 Live.
And it just looks like a basketball defence again there. They've got around the box there, they'll make sure they've got plenty of men around there, but Chelsea breaking at that pace are very, very dangerous. But I think Deulofeu's got the ball.
Here he goes again. Deulofeu just outside the penalty area, Rudiger with him, unselfishly rolls it up. Dini puts it over the top. Oh, did he take too long over that, Dini? He let it roll into his path. He allowed David Luiz get closer, and it deflects off the Brazilian defender for a corner.
Yeah, but it's good defending, isn't it? But poor play by Jorginho there, caught on the ball. Rudiger's done for pace there by Deulofeu momentarily, and we don't often say that because he's superb. I thought the defending was quite poor there by Chelsea, and they had to get across quickly to Troy Deeney there, and you've got to put that down to good defending. I don't think Troy Deeney could take that any earlier than he did.
Well, Watford have had the one shot from Doucouré that was blocked away. That's another one for them. Deeney's effort blocked away by David Luiz. It all results in a Watford corner on the right hand side. Time running out now in the first half. 7 minutes to go until the break. Holebas has come across to take the corner. Left footed, it'll probably be in swinging. Relatively short run up against the electronic advertising board. Sends it towards the back post where Cathcart was there, but so too was David Luiz. He wins the header. N'Golo Kante stops it going out for a throw in on the far side, and Jorginho tries to wriggle away from Abdoulaye Doucouré, but he's unable to do so, and it goes for a Watford throw.
And the more you watch Deulofeu, his pace is absolutely frightening. I think most teams know that Alonso goes forward so much on that left hand side. David Luiz isn't, he's no sprinter, he's no lightning quick player. Deulofeu knows he'll do it for pace if he gets him in a one-on-one, and that area is looking at the most dangerous for Watford just now. And if he can get past Luiz, that means Troy Deeney will get space on the far side there. So those two at the moment are looking really dangerous against the Chelsea back line.
David Luiz in a sprint here with Deulofeu. He did it a head start on him, gets it back to Aretha Balaga, and then very calm stuff for the 24-year-old goalkeeper to just lay it back to David Luiz again, with Deulofeu bearing down on him. Rudiger across to Azpilicueta. This little rope-a-dope again from Chelsea, where they sit deep, they try to absorb Watford in and then bang, hit them on the counter-attack, but Capoue does well on the far side and puts it out for a Chelsea throw. After the live football tonight, 6:06, we'll give you the number to call in the second half, but I'll be here with Pat for an hour after the live football tonight to take your calls on what has been a very busy day in the Premier League. We started with... Sorry, go on, Pat.
Wouldn't you just love to hear some Man City fans, just to hear the thoughts of the City fans just now?
I'm sure we will,
because,
and I hope we will, yes.
Is it still positive? Are you worried at all just now? Is this just a little blip? It happens in normal seasons. Last season was so abnormal.
Of course it's still possible, though. Hang on, here comes Hazard, he's offside. For Manchester City, of course it is. They've had one bad week, they've had two bad scorelines. I think what it is, it's a credit to everyone else to have kept up with them, because at one stage it looks like they were head and shoulders above everyone else, and even if they did lose a couple of games, it wouldn't have made any difference, whereas now we've seen, actually, a couple of defeats, and they're in trouble. Yeah. As Deeney here tries to come forward to the left-hand side, and Rudiger comes across. We'll discuss it all on 6:06 later on. 5 minutes to go till the break here at Watford, and Holebas has come forward to take a throw in on the left hand side. He's going to wipe it on the inside of his shirt. He's going to try and take as long a run up as he can. There isn't much space there. But Chelsea's defenders have all taken a few steps backwards, and they're anticipating a long throw being launched into the penalty area here as the Hornet mascot, the big furry mascot, had to step out of the way there of Holebas as he came forward to take the throw into a busy penalty area. Chelsea have dealt with it well. Counter-attack opportunity. N'Golo Kante onto Hazard. Great feed away from Cathcart. 3-on-3 here. Hazard tackled from behind by Mariappa. Pedro tries to keep it going. Capoue with a lovely lunge. He was in the penalty area. He had to be so careful there. He won the ball expertly, and Watford are trying to play their way out of trouble. Really good counter-attack for Chelsea, but even better defending for Watford. Pat Nevin.
So much to enjoy about that. The dummy by Hazard was superb, but Capoue, that was wonderful, world-class defending.
Etienne Capoue showing a lot of stamina there. It had been an attacking throw-in for Watford. He made up a lot of ground to get back as Jorginho here comes dribbling out of Chelsea's penalty area and plays it up low to the feet of Hazard on the halfway line. He's been allowed to turn, which is always a dangerous thing. Now he's set up towards the Watford penalty area. Willian available out to the left-hand side. 0-0 here at Vicarage Road as Willian takes on one man too many. Good challenge comes in from Capoue again. He's putting in a great shift in that defensive role at the moment for Watford, just sitting in front of the two central defenders, Cathcart and Mariappa. If you weren't with their coverage earlier on, Cabaselli had to go off injured. Here Azpilicueta plays the ball into the penalty area. Hazard stumbles on his way in pursuit of it. I don't think he'd have got there anyway, and it runs through to Ben Foster. 0-0.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's the first time Chelsea have tried to play a ball that you play into a normal centre forward from a wide area, and there's no way that Watford are going to fall for that one. They're too long in the tooth in defence there. They know exactly what they're doing, and at the moment this game's getting better and better. The thing that's intriguing me most, I think there's more running from, as we're speaking just now, by the way, Pedro looks an absolute stick on to come off right now, because that looks like a hamstring problem to me. His left hamstring there, so you wonder if they put, the chances are you could bring Giroud on just now, maybe put, of course, his Loftus-Cheek would be another possibility.
Well, I'll tell you who he's got. The one change he made was Loftus-Cheek is not on the bench.
Not in the bench.
He's got Callum Hudson-Odoi, who's played in the Europa League a few times. I remember being at Wembley and seeing him play in the Community Shield right at the start of the season. He's not played in the Premier League this campaign yet. He might be of interest to Maurizio Sarri.
There's also Barkley as well that we could do that, so drop a little bit further up.
It's going to be Hudson-Odoi. So, 18 years of age. He only turned 18 last month. He scored for England in the final of the Under-17s Euros. He was in the team that won the Under-17s World Cup. And he is getting ready to come on, and this is just one of those little wonder kids we're always told about. Big future coming. He's getting he has played in the Premier League before, 2 sub appearances last season, but here he comes for the first time in this campaign, and he takes that attacking berth on the right hand side.
I'm going to tell you something about him. He's going to have a shot very, very soon. Okay. He is late.
Okay, hang on. We've got 2 minutes to half time. Is he going to have a shot before half time?
It may well have to wait till after half time. But when he gets on the ball, he will not worry about taking players on. He will not worry about using his blistering pace, and he loves a shot at every opportunity. He's got a very unusual technique, which I'll try and explain to you quickly. He's no backlift whatsoever, and he takes the ball when it's not one side or the other, it's between his legs. It's a very unusual technique he's got of shooting.
Here he comes, first touch. Callum Hudson-Odoi on the pitch for Chelsea. Plays it across the midfield. Kovacic here has got a bit of room, so he sends it further left to Marcus Alonso, taking on the fullback. Great work again in the midfield. They're working so hard. That was Ken Sema that time, as Jorginho dinks one into the penalty area. Willian's done very well. He wasn't favoured to get to that at all, and he did. Keeps it alive for Chelsea. Kovacic, 10 yards outside the Watford penalty area, gives it back out to that left channel where Hazard has now got involved. Hazard cuts in on his right boot, knows that Willian is outside him. N'Golo Kante's in the middle, Marcus Alonso's in the middle, Hudson-Odoi's in the middle. Can Chelsea get the ball in there? Hazard gives it back to Jorginho, further back to Rudiger, midway inside the Watford half. Rudiger gives it out to the right hand side to Azpilicueta. Is the cross going to come for Chelsea? Here's Hudson-Odoi, takes on Deeney, goes around him, comes back inside Deeney again, lays it off to N'Golo Kante, and that's a rarity. A misplaced pass from N'Golo Kante. You don't see that very often. Puts it out for a goal kick to Watford, still 0-0.
Yeah, Hudson-Odoi will make a difference, I think. He's very, very direct as well. Fearless for a young lad, which is great to Chelsea, you know, and there are so many good young English players coming through just now. He's certainly one of the ones that's getting, certainly a lot of Chelsea fans, but a lot of people who watch young England really excited as well.
We've got 4 minutes being added on because, of course, that lengthy delay when Cabaselli was receiving treatment for that injury. We hope he's okay. He did play on briefly, but has clearly gone off with a back or arm injury, collided against the post. But 4 minutes being added on, so maybe we will see this much billed Hudson-Odoi shot at goal, which Pat is promising as Doucouré gives it away. This is dangerous. Hazard, one-on-one with the goalkeeper, around the goalkeeper, scores! He's 100th goal for Chelsea in stoppage time at the end of the first half. One mistake is all it took. Doucouré, who's had an exemplary half, giving the ball away, and just like that, Chelsea pounds Hazard, 11th goal this season for Chelsea. Watford 0, Chelsea 1.
Devastating for Watford, obviously, because they managed it so well. So few chances for Chelsea and very, very few mistakes. But in this case, just caught in the middle there. Poor pass to him, actually, to Doucouré. Maybe it wasn't his fault at all. Slip ball through was absolutely perfect. And Hazard at this point in time, maybe times gone by, other centre forwards for Chelsea would go and try and beat the goalkeeper from there. He knew that he had him 1-on-1. What he should do there is go past the goalkeeper and get either a penalty or score a goal. The keeper doesn't get anywhere near him. Lovely finish. Makes it look incredibly easy because it is for players of that standard.
Swing of the hips from Eden Hazard to dummy to go one way and then go the other around Ben Foster, and then he rolled it into the unguarded net. It's his first shot of the game. He had that fresh air shot, but he didn't connect with the ball in the 6-yard box. That's the first time he's had a proper shot. Eden Hazard scores, and that puts a much rosier complexion on things for Chelsea, who have dominated possession here but have looked wobbly at times. Watford would have felt that they were very much in this game, but as it stands, it looks like Watford are going to be going to the change rooms at half-time 1-0 down because of that Eden Hazard goal.
Well, not for the first time though Chelsea have been ahead this season, have been pegged back, so that it's not beyond the bounds of possibility, and certainly at home I think Watford can really push it a little bit now.
Sima plays it in, a stumble by Rudiger. Here's a chance, Doucouré to make amends, saved by Azpilicueta, by Aretha Balaga. It's the second time I've done that, apologies. Aretha Balaga comes out bravely, dives at the feet of Abdoulaye Doucouré and puts it out for a corner. What a chance for Watford to make it 1-1.
Yeah, what a poor mistake there by Rudiger. He's tried to head it out. I cannot see why he slipped at that last moment. He was static, trying to put too much power in it. His legs actually gave way beneath him there. But Aretha Balaga, he's very, very quick out there.
Brave save from the young keeper. Pereira hits it! Oh, from the corner, he equalises! The ball was swung in from the corner, full on the volley. Roberto Pereira to the bottom corner. Aretha Balaga stretching and couldn't get his fingertips to it. We have seen some glorious volleys in the last week or so of the Premier League, and that's right up there. Pereira with a screamer. It's full on the volley. It's like Paul Scholes all those years ago. Edge of the penalty area in the D, and when you hit it like that, it stays hit. 1-1.
That's a fantastic goal. The volley's great. He's kept it down, but that's a training ground one as well. That's not a fluke. They've lived for that. They've run everyone into the box. He's came back from maybe 40 yards out, so no one's marking him at all there. But he has to keep it down. He has to be calm. He has to get his license through it. He's done all of that right into the corner. Great goal. And to be fair, you've got to say Watford really deserve it. For the work rate they put in, they've been gutted to go down into this half-time break 1-0 down, and it would have been quite harsh on them.
Right, it's a first half which was brimming away, just on the boil and simmering, and then we got a goal in stoppage time, and then we got another goal in stoppage time. Pereira's goal came in the 50th minute. Watford won, Chelsea won, Hazard around the goalkeeper, Pereira with a screamer, and it sets it up nicely, Pat Nevin, for the second half.
Well, he's mentioned to you before that Chelsea going ahead doesn't mean the things are finished. I mean, this season it hasn't been the case for them, and there have been a few games recently where they have faded near the end of games. So Watford always had that in their minds, but they weren't going to wait till the 60th minute. They did it 2 seconds later. I have to say I've been very impressed with Watford today, but can they keep that work level up until the end of the game? That's the big question.
We're looking forward to the second half. Roberto Pereira, who scored home and away against Chelsea last season. Hugh, he's done it again. Watford 1, Chelsea 1 for now. Thank you very much, Hugh. Watford 1, Chelsea 1. Both goals in stoppage time at the end of the first half. Hazard putting Chelsea in front. Pereira with a fantastic full volley from outside the penalty area to equalise matters. By the way, lines now open for 6:06 coming up at the end of this second half. You can book your call now. 08085 909 693. That's 08085 909 693. Lines are open. Book your call now to speak to myself and Pat about all of today's football action up and down the country, as this is Jorginho, first touch of the ball for him in the second half, trying to lay it up to Eden Hazard. Hazard, who has scored the goal for Chelsea, but apart from one other fresh air shot, hadn't really been getting into dangerous positions. Chelsea maybe lacking a focal point to aim for up front. They've been forced into the change with Pedro going off injured for Callum Hudson-Odoi to come on just before half-time, and he'll now be fully warmed up and into things, playing on the right wing of that front three with Hazard through the middle and Willian on the left-hand side. The three in midfield for Chelsea: N'Golo Kante, Jorginho and Mateo Kovacic. And then the back four: Azpilicueta, Rudiger, David Luiz and Marcos Alonso, all playing in front of the goalkeeper Kepa Arrizabalaga. The Watford team, Ben Foster in goal. They've also been forced into a change in that first half. Kiko Firmina is at right back. Adrian Mariappa has come on to play centre half alongside Cathcart. That's because Christian Capacelli went off injured. Jose Halabas is the left back. In midfield, Ken Sema on the right, Roberto Pereira predominantly on the left, with Etienne Capoue and Abdoulaye Decore in the middle. Decore, who gave away the ball with a mistake for the Hazard opener, and then up front Deulofeu with Troy Deeney. Possession on the right hand side of the Watford defence, with Kiko Firmino playing it up to Sema. Sema goes a long way around Marcos Alonso. Alonso recovers well, and then Sema fouls him and tries to get around him, and that will be a free kick to Chelsea, who are keen to get on with it. Pat Nevin, your thoughts over half-time now the dust has settled a bit from that frantic stoppage period before the break?
Well, it's interesting because you thought, well, we know how the game's going to go in the second half now, and Chelsea went ahead. You think, well, Watford are going to come out a lot more, they're going to push, they're going to try and play much further up the field, and then they get that goal, and you think, well, back to square one. They'll play on the break, allow Chelsea to get the ball in there the last third, but believe that they can defend it most of the time, which they did, other than that one opportunity. However, it looks a little bit more open, a little more end-to-end at the start of the second half, which rather bodes well for the
Yes, that's never a bad thing. Never a bad thing, an open game, as Azpilicueta plays it up to Callum Hudson-Odoi, the teenager, and gets it back again, wearing boots with white and pink heels. He's got gloves on and long sleeves. And Hudson-Odoi rolls it back to the halfway line to Antonio Rudiger. Certainly by his body language, he looks very confident. He doesn't look like a raw teenager making his first Premier League appearance of the season. He looks to the manner born. Let's see what he can produce once he gets possession again. Here comes Kovacic, flicks it on to Hazard, just outside the Watford penalty area. Cathcart trying to get close, which is easier said than done, as Azpilicueta comes to join the attack. And now Hudson-Odoi with a good instep. Oh, that's a lovely flick for Hazard. Hazard close to the 6-yard box. Now the cross from Azpilicueta is too high. Willian was the only viable target. It sailed over his head, but it's kept in play by Marcos Alonso on the far side. Chelsea playing from left to right as we look down in the second period. Blue shirts, blue shorts, white socks. Watford in their the yellow, black and red. And they're sitting deep at the moment as Hudson-Odoi gives it back to Azpilicueta again, 10 yards inside the Watford half, back into the centre circle to David Luiz, and now Jorginho helps it onto the left wing, and the Brazilian Willian, who fancies a run here up against Sema, does well to give it into the penalty area. Marcos Alonso turns, Hazard, 2 touches, still has it Hazard. They're trying, people are lunging in at him. Kiko Firmino, they just can't shove him off the ball. He's not the tallest, but he's got very strong legs with Eden Hazard. He rides those challenges. He holds on to possession for Chelsea. Jorginho doing the same thing now under pressure from Decore, and there's some applause from the Watford fans as they force Chelsea back. Here's the ball forward though. N'Golo Kante tries to lunge it from David Luiz, but it bounces just in front of the French World Cup winner, and it bounces up into the arms of Ben Foster. Still 1-1.
I mentioned early on in the game that ball from David Luiz from the left centre back position to the player coming from the the right and the inside right position, and he was shouting over to Sarri early on. He wanted to see Kante making that run much more often because he felt there was a gap on, and I have to say I'd spotted it 2 or 3 times myself. Well, start of the second half, he's made that run. Kante was millimetres of getting on the end of it, and that would have been a 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper.
Jorginho for Chelsea to Cesar Azpilicueta, who scored against Watford in each of the last 2 seasons, the Spanish defender. Hudson-Odoi flicks it on nonchalantly with the outside of his right boot, but can't pick out N'Golo Kante. Here is Abdoulaye Doucouré over the halfway line to Deulofeu. Back now to Doucouré again, who encourages Kiko Firmino to come forward on the right hand side. Watford are getting bodies forward, Chelsea are getting bodies back. Kiko Firmino tries a back heel. Ooh, one fancy flick too many there. He's given away possession. Kovacic picks it up. Now Willian will be pinned in by Troy Deeney. Deeney out-muscles him, and then David Luiz comes across to drill it out for a throw-in. The Watford fans loved that because Willian, with all his Brazilian flair, as soon as Deeney came up against him, it became an arm wrestle, and there was only going to be one winner in that regard.
And it was long before Deeney won the ball, the fans knew he was going to win it. They were screaming, saying, yeah, get in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Watford remain on the attack. They have it here with Ken Sema, back to Kiko Firmino. Kovacic is trying to lean in, but he can't get anywhere near the ball. Sema rolls it back again. This is Capoue, midway inside the Chelsea half, lofts it towards the edge of the Chelsea penalty area. Azpilicueta comfortably heads it down. First chance to see Hudson-Odoi in a sprint up against Holebas. Holebas recovers well. They both tangle. Hudson-Odoi hits the deck, and Cathcart rolls it. There's applause at Vicarage Road. That was the first test for Holebas, 1-on-1 with Hudson-Odoi, and he got away with it, but only just. Down goes Deeney, wanting a free kick. Referee not interested. Martin Atkinson. N'Golo Kante prods it forward, trying to get it onto Eden Hazard, but it's cut out to Watford come again. Watford have started this second half well. Roberto Pereira storming into the Chelsea half. Deeney to his left-hand side, tries to switch the play. It's a rather aimless pass from Deeney, but Deulofeu sprints out and keeps it alive. Now he's 4 to aim for in the middle, Deulofeu, but he keeps it close to his feet as he edges closer to the box. Short to Doucouré, now to Sema, and the last touch comes off a defender, and Jorginho's got to be carefully right on the byline. He keeps it in play. That's good defending, and Chelsea will be able to get it away here. Marcus Alonso slaloming round a couple of opponents onto Hazard, who's bundled out of play, and that will be the referee had said a throw in to Chelsea. He's overruled by his assistant, who says throw into Watford, and Pat Evans, they get on with it.
Yeah, they did. The referee actually made the diving motion towards Hazard as if he dived there, which is a bit cheap when you compare it to what Deulofeu had done earlier on, and he didn't make that motion towards Deulofeu. But that's the whole point about Hazard. They have to make sure Watford that he's facing his own goal. If he's facing his own goal, they're fine. If he's not, they've got problems. 1-1
on Boxing Day evening on 5 Live at Vicarage Road. Here is Capoue being urged to shoot from miles out. He played in a low pass which Doucouré wasn't ready to receive. Deeney couldn't pounce on it either, and harmlessly in the end it goes out for a goal kick to Chelsea.
That's a good start, isn't it, for Watford in this second half. Much more of the play in the Chelsea half just now. They're pushing that a little bit further up. They want to try and dominate Chelsea much more than they did in the first half, because Chelsea had most of the play. And at the moment they've been able to do so, and again it comes down to, can they keep that going at that level, at that pace, because it's hard work chasing the ball as well.
It's flicked into the penalty area by Deeney, but Jorginho was back defending. He's had to play deep many times in this game, Jorginho, as Aretha Balaga clears from his goal line and straight out of play. So Watford get back possession. Been a good attitude from Watford since the start of the second half. They are in the faces of the Chelsea players. They're not allowing them to settle.
This is kind of what I thought would happen at the start of the game for Watford, knowing their capabilities, at home, but they play different ways in different parts of games, and that's what impresses me most about them. But in this game, this second half now, they've decided they're going to have a go.
Here comes Deulofeu attacking the penalty area, taking on David Luiz. David Luiz leans into a no penalty. Roars from the Watford fans, but Martin Atkinson was close to that, and he immediately waved his arms to say that was not a penalty.
Do you know what, Deulofeu? See, if that was a penalty, it's your own fault, mate, for the ridiculous dive in the first half. You throw yourself down like that, the referee's already thinking, right, this is a player who's trying to con me. Strength for strength? Not much in it, really. David Luiz both of them have got their arms locked, to be fair.
Do you know, actually, it's Deulofeu who's wrapped his arm actually around David Luiz to try and bring the two of them down together. It's a little bit like that Mo Salah, Sergio Ramos collision in the Champions League final, where the arms are interlocked as they fall together.
The reason why it looks dangerous, Connor, is because you know that Luiz isn't as quick as Deulofeu. So you immediately look to Luiz and think, you're the one that's doing the fouling here. They were actually doing it to each other.
1-1 it remains. Tomorrow Southampton against West Ham. Commentary 7:45 here on 5 Live Sports. 6:06 coming up in about 45 minutes time or so, as Callum Hudson-Odoi shuffles it on in the midfield to Kovacic. Chelsea still inside their own half. David Luiz out into space for Marcos Alonso on the far side, and he strides at a medium pace into Watford territory. Goes around Sima. Collecting it here is Kovacic, 10 yards outside the penalty area now. Willian crossing position on the left. Hudson-Odoi is at the back post, but Chelsea give it away. Good work by Ken Seaman. He clears up towards the halfway line. Rudiger lunges in ahead of Deeney, but good work by Doucouré to release Pereira. Azpilicueta's the defender. Pereira lunging in on him. N'Golo Kante comes storming back from nowhere to put extra pressure on, and Pereira's got to change direction and veer in field, and that allows the Chelsea defence to get back, but Watford still have the ball. Kiko Femedia's cross, come to the edge of the penalty area. N'Golo Kante's header out as far as Doucouré, who hits it back in the second time, but blocked away by another Chelsea defender. Watford hold onto the ball, but they're forced back to the halfway line.
Excellent. We've got a slugfest now. There's just one going at the other. Tactically, there's not a lot in it now. There's just two teams that want to go and have a little bit of dig at each other. Nobody's leaving too many back. Great play over the right hand side. Alonso left for dead.
Sima into the penalty area. Alonso tries to recover. Jorginho again makes the interception. He's done that a lot today. Willian still back inside his own penalty area. Passes it short to David Luiz. Chelsea very much want to play their way out of trouble here. Triangular passing. David Luiz again. Capoue is frustrated. Fouls David Luiz. And that relieves the pressure for Chelsea. And they can clear away. 10 minutes played in the second half. It has been good. Good half of football so far.
And it certainly is just now, and the amount of times now that that high press is coming from Watford, much more than was happening in the first half. It was just now and again, every 10-15 minutes or so, they would have one go. Obviously a signal whether Deeney's the one that starts it and everyone gets behind him, but it's happened much more frequently in this second half. They feel as if they can go and nick the ball off Chelsea in their own half and do some damage with it.
1-1. Rudiger rolls it over the halfway line to Azpilicueta. And now it's Watford's turn to drop deep, as that's a lovely scoop ball by Jorginho to pick out Hazard. Goalkeeper's out and fouls in. Foster's taken him down, surely. It's a penalty. And the referee reaching for a card as well. Yellow card for Ben Foster. That was an excellently creative ball played forward by Jorginho. Hazard took a touch. Goalkeeper clattered him. Was it a bit rash from the goalkeeper, Pat? Does he need to storm out like that?
Right, I've not seen this again, but Hazard knows exactly where the keeper does this and leaves his body to take the hit. There is no complaints whatsoever from Ben Foster. He comes out there. If you come out there, you must get the ball. He gets nowhere near the ball, does he really?
So, Eden Hazard, who scored to put Chelsea ahead just before half-time. Watford came back to make it 1-1. Now Hazard, having won the penalty, scores the penalty to restore Chelsea's lead. 2-1 to the visitors. Ben Foster. Well, none of his teammates are coming to console him. He looks sheepish. He's very angry with himself. Watford, for all their good work, find themselves behind again, and it's goal 101 in a Chelsea shirt for Eden Hazard.
Yeah, and it's one of those penalties that Hazard takes. Very slow run up, only 3 or 4 steps, waits for Ben Foster to move, and it has to be said that's twice he's actually managed to sting him in seconds there. It was a definite penalty kick, no doubt about it. The one thing in the midst of it all, the ball for Hazard's first goal was a little clip ball from a number 10 position from Kovacic, and it was a beautiful ball, which we didn't spend enough time talking about. It was beautiful. This time it was Jorginho, a little clip ball just in the same sort of area. Two very, very similar build-ups to both of the goals.
Last time Chelsea took the lead, Watford hit back within a matter of minutes. Let's see if they could do it again. Holebas here, up in an attacking left-wing position, surrounded by Chelsea players though, manages to smuggle it back to Capoue and further back to the halfway line in Cathcart. Chelsea sitting deep. Cathcart weighs up the options, gives it short to Holebas, Back to Cathcart again. Hudson-Odoi comes shuffling in, and then it's all the way back to the Watford goalkeeper Ben Foster. He'll watch it back, he'll be disappointed with himself. Yes, it's a great ball from Jorginho towards Hazard. I don't think the keeper needed to commit himself.
Yeah, but Hazard had loads to do, Conor. Right, Hazard had lots to do. He had his back to the goal as well. He's still in a good position and a good chance, but the keeper going out there, he actually makes a decision for Hazard.
Yeah.
Hazard had his back to the keeper, but he knows exactly where Foster is. He knows what he's doing. All he needs to do is flick the ball past him and take the hit, and that's exactly what he did.
Yep, Hazard was delighted to see Foster coming because he knew that was going to be a penalty. Yellow card for the Watford goalkeeper. 2-1 Chelsea lead. Watford must try and come from behind again. As Kiko Firmino, they're nudged into Willian. Ball goes over the top of both of them, ultimately out for a throw-in to Chelsea left full-back position.
It's one of the great things about, players getting tired at this time of the year. It's kind of heavy into the season. It's a World Cup year as well, but there's a lot of games. Kante's been caught this time.
Delafeu into the penalty area. Out comes the goalkeeper, Aretha Balaga, and he dives down.
High press, so wasn't it, Conor? Great high press there from Watford again. We've been talking about it from the start of the second half. They've been keen to do it. Now they've lost a goal because they've been doing it. However, they are creating chances as well, and they've done it again and got it again. This time it was Jorginho who played the ball out under not as much pressure, but Kante, Jorginho, Willian a couple of times as well. All the Chelsea players are getting caught in possession at the moment when they're getting pressed that high up the field.
Holebas lumps it forward. That's going to bounce through to the goalkeeper.
The point I was making there, Conor, was a lot of teams do actually get more tired legging. It's not physical tiredness, it's mental tiredness as well. So many games in a short period of time. That's where you sometimes get a 5 or a 6 coming from absolutely nowhere. And there's a lot of 5s and 6s around at the moment, and a lot of teams, for defenders it's a nightmare because that mental tiredness just needs a second, and off they go, half a chance. And the quality of strikers around just now, they don't make many mistakes.
Leicester, who beat Chelsea last weekend, beat Manchester City today. I hope we get a few Leicester calls on 606 08085 909 693 is the number. Those lines are open now. You can book your call once the live football is over tonight on 5 Live. But what a turnaround it's been at Leicester. What a turnaround at Manchester United as well. 2 wins out of 2. Much to discuss on 606 once the live action has finished here. We have passed the hour mark. Watford 1, Chelsea 2. Azpilicueta rolls it back to Rudiger. The high press again. Deeney hunts Rudiger back to the goalkeeper. But Chelsea have now got a lead to defend. As David Luiz sprays it over to the far side to Marcus Alonso. Back into the middle to Jorginho. Hazard, who's now on a hat-trick, comes deep to receive it inside the centre circle. Little cheeky back heel to N'Golo Kante. Now Jorginho sends Chelsea down the left-hand side. Kovacic encouraging Willian to attack the penalty area left-hand side. 2 defenders around him. Willian crosses, blocked away off the defender Kiko Firmino, and it's a corner to Chelsea on the left-hand side.
You look at Hazard, he's enjoying it more and more and more as the game goes on. That tiredness I was talking about, there are little gaps beginning to arrive in that middle to front area, and he's just going into it time and again now, and Watford are finding it much more difficult to get close into him.
Corner will be taken by Willian. Left-hand side of the pitch as Chelsea come forward. They're attacking the end where their supporters are housed. It's an in-swinger. Foster came, wasn't anywhere near it. N'Golo Kante will pick up on the edge of the penalty area after it was headed out towards him. Chelsea very much remaining on the attack here. Hudson-Odoi plays a little 1-2 with N'Golo Kante. Crossing position on the right-hand side. Flurry of feet from Hudson-Odoi. Back to N'Golo Kante again. Back to Jorginho, and ultimately back to the halfway line. And Azpilicueta as Watford force the visitors back again. This high-energy, high-tempo play from Watford continuing here. Willian is the latest to fall under pressure.
Just what Chelsea did there, because of the pressure they were put on, they came from the right wing there all the way across the park and all the way across the park this way again. That's fine for Chelsea, they're passing it. Watford are having to chase all that direction. It is beginning to wear them out.
Hudson-Odoi crossing position on the right hand side, lays it short to Eden Hazard. Now back to N'Golo Kante near the halfway line. Chelsea enjoying possession here. Rudiger back to the near touchline and Azpilicueta, and now forward to Eden Hazard. Back to goal, 10 yards outside the penalty area. Tried to help it onto Willian, but it's cut out. This is Ken Sema immediately relinquishing possession back to Chelsea. We're hungry at the moment. Another goal for Chelsea, and it could be done, This is Hazard, out to Willian. Willian does the back heel. Hazard's going to have to sprint to get there, and he does. The header, Mariappa flicks it forward. He wants a corner. Referee says no, it's a goal kick.
I can't believe it. He thinks he got a corner there. He didn't chase the ball into the area, but they have lifted it again, Chelsea. I think they've learned maybe from that end of that first half. Turned off just for a moment after going ahead. I'm sure the manager shouting on to him as soon as they went ahead for the second time, don't do that again, don't go to sleep again. Well, they've managed to last longer this time after going ahead than they did before.
That goal that has put Chelsea ahead, a penalty scored by Eden Hazard. It is the fourth penalty this season that Watford have conceded in the top flight. Only Brighton have conceded more than that. Throw into Chelsea after Delafeu ran down a bit of a cul-de-sac, and Marcus Alonso has a throw right by the corner flag his team are defending. Left-hand side for Chelsea, takes his time over it, Marcus Alonso, much to the chagrin of the Watford supporters, and ball is played off. Troy Deeney again out for another Chelsea throw. They don't mind this. To slow the game down a little bit. Many of the Chelsea substitutes are warming up. Amongst them down there is Olivier Giroud.
Yes, and I wouldn't be surprised if he comes on and plays centre forward at one point. Not sure if Hazard can actually play all the games for 90 minutes. I mean, he's a joy to watch when he's playing at his best, and he's been very good this evening. But I'm not sure he can last the 90 minutes at that sort of pace up front on his own.
Jorginho's given it away to Capoue. This is Delafeu just outside the Chelsea half. Watford 1, Chelsea 2 on 5 Live for the BBC as Capoue gives it back out to Kika Firmini on the right hand side. Back infield to Capoue again, midway inside the Chelsea half. All 11 Chelsea players are back behind the ball here as Holebas will turn under pressure from Hudson-Odoi and roll it back to the centre circle. And Craig Cathcart once again. It's been a busy day in the Premier League. Started with Fulham 1, Wolves 1, with commentary with John Murray at lunchtime of the afternoon game. Some very eyebrow-raising scorelines. Everton got 5 away from home at Burnley. Leicester beat Manchester City at the King Power. Liverpool scored 4 at home against Newcastle. And here comes Eden Hazard on the attack for Chelsea, bearing down on the penalty area. Cuts in field from the left wing, pushed though by Capoue. Manages to hold on to his balance, Hazard, and waits for the arrival of Azpilicueta, who's got Hudson-Odoi ahead of him, stepping into the penalty area. 2 defenders around him, but they daren't lunge in because they know he's a box of tricks. Azpilicueta plays the 1-2 with Hazard. This is good stuff from Chelsea. Hudson-Odoi crosses dangerously into the middle, and after a little bit of a ricochet, it's cleared away by Kiko Firmini, and Watford haven't fully cleared their lines just yet. Deeney back to Pereira. Holebas Deeney put out for a Chelsea throw. They're trying really hard, Watford. They really are.
They are, but Chelsea are now actually closing down much better in the midfield and getting the ball back more easily. The one disappointment really is Hudson-Odoi. He's not been able to get involved in the game using the skills he's definitely got. I think he'd probably rather be coming in from the left-hand side. He's much better from the left-hand side the times that I've watched him play, but he's out here on the right-hand side and he's still to make an impact here.
Reminder, lines are open for 606 08 085 909 693. Myself and Pat taking your calls later on this evening after this match has finished. Domingos Quina has come on as a substitute, taking the place of Ken Sema, the 25-year-old Swede who had been making his 4th start in the Premier League this season. On comes the teenager Quina, who was with West Ham last season, Portuguese midfielder, and he has come on to try and add some fresh energy to this Watford attack, which has been energy filled. It has been trying to wear Chelsea down through persistence, if nothing else, and now they've got a young teenager to add to that, as ball is cleared by Rudiger. Bounces in front to Kiko Firmini. He could have let that go out for a Watford throw. Actually, he didn't. He kept it in play, and he probably regrets it now because Chelsea have it with Willian. That's great acceleration to get away from Capoue, to then go past Kiko Firmini. Still Willian here as he edges out towards the corner flag on the left-hand side, and then he eventually is challenged, and it goes out for a Chelsea throw.
Yeah, it was stunning pace there. He used that a couple of times in the first half as well. Oddly enough, again, he's played well, Willian, but not getting on the ball enough in dangerous areas. And when he plays on the left-hand side, he doesn't have quite the same understanding with Alonso that Eden Hazard does. So it's another thing that Chelsea lose when Hazard plays up front on his own. However, if he scores 2 goals, gets a penalty, I don't think many people will complain in the Chelsea blue that Eden Hazard is playing up front.
If you're joining our coverage late, Eden Hazard put Chelsea in front in stoppage time at the end of the first half, but then Watford immediately went down the other end, and Pereira with an excellent volley made it 1-1 for half time. And then early stages of the second half, Ben Foster, the Watford goalkeeper, bundled into Hazard, gave away a penalty. Eden Hazard scored it himself. Chelsea lead by 2-1. Chelsea, who, if they do hold on to win here, will move ahead of Arsenal and back into the top 4.
Yeah, and you've got to applaud Chelsea the way they come out in the second half. You know, they could have had a negative reaction to losing that very, very late goal at the end of the first half. They started well, and difficult moments, I think, now for about 20 minutes or so to go. Difficult moments for Watford. They can't afford to lose another goal.
Into the final quarter of the game, Willian's free kick. David Luiz jumping on the edge of the 6-yard box to try and get there. Eventually N'Golo Kante rolls it to Marcus Alonso. Chelsea have an attacking position on the right hand side here, but under pressure from Watford, they're forced back to the halfway line once again. Cesar Azpilicueta is the deepest lying Chelsea player. He's got support here from Jorginho. Now Rudiger plays it forward and direct. Hudson-Odoi with a good turn of pace there to get in ahead of Holebas. And now he's got to hold it up on the byline. I'll tell you, no nonsense defending from Holebas there. He says, you can take all your tricks, but I'm pushing you off the field of play. And that's a goal kick to Watford.
You know, it's a big jump. Watching Hudson-Odoi playing in the Europa League, which I've been to see a few of the games he's played in, and he's cruising against that standard of player. Big boys now.
Indeed, yeah.
It's, you know, you really have to make sure that every inch of space that you have to earn it. He did earn a few yards there, but then he took his eye off the ball slightly and thought, okay, I've got the space now. And he was basically bullied off the ball. Got to learn that.
Watford won.
And by the way, I think he will.
Yes, indeed. Watford won, Chelsea 2. Well, he's got a long way to go, doesn't he? Just only recently turned 18. He will be given the chance, I'm sure, to mature, but very few youngsters have made that breakthrough into the first team, and the fact that he's still on the edges, the fact that he's still being used, shows that he's obviously a cut above some of the other teenagers who are inevitably sent out on loan from Chelsea. As David Luiz sends a wayward ball towards Hudson-Odoi, and all he could do is hit it in field and give away possession. Keane got it back for Watford. Now here is Pereira, the Watford goal scorer, with the short sleeves and the gloves, looking very South American with the tan legs as he veers in field from left to right into a central location. Kiko Firmino comes forward to lend a hand. Deulofeu now has it. Right wing position. 3 Watford players in the penalty area. Deulofeu back to Pereira. Now Capoue 10 yards outside the Chelsea penalty area. Everyone except Hazard back behind the ball for the visitors. I think that Chelsea are going to get it back here. Yes, they will. Easily shepherded out by Jorginho. And that is a goal kick to Chelsea, who are defending this lead the second time more resolutely than they did when they went 1-0 up.
You're just in the middle of the park there. You see Troy Deeney shouting, come on, get the ball in, for goodness sake, the old-fashioned centre ball would do. Just get the ball in, let me attack something. And they should have got the ball in there, because Deeney, although he was well marked, once again Doucouré had got to the back post. He hadn't been tracked and he was in space for a good 10 or 15 seconds there, and they really need to get the ball in a little bit earlier there, Watford.
Here is Hazard, held up by Cathcart. Now Willian, just wide. That was so close. One touch to control it from Willian. A few paces inside the penalty area, struck it low and just beyond the post.
That was quite stunning, that move, wasn't it? The pace of that move was, when they played up the left-hand side there. I mean, Kovacic and Jorginho, when they played the first pass there, they just create a huge amount of space. A zipped pass into Willian. His first touch flicks it up in the air, and as it comes down, he hits it on the half volley. And Ben Foster's not going to get a sniff of that, and it just goes past the post. And I think you'll probably think that would be the game over. Having said that, this time of the year, you never know, there's some odd things going on.
That's the voice of Pat Nevin watching this game of this evening at Vicarage Road. Chelsea lead 2-1. Here comes Kiko Firmino for Watford. That's good. He absolutely cruised past Kovacic there, but then is held up on the edge of the Chelsea penalty area, and Willian gets the chance to break away again. Now this is the conundrum for Watford. The more they push forward looking for the equaliser, the more then they have to track back to keep Chelsea at bay on the counter-attack. Hudson-Odoi on this occasion turns. Look at the space Kovacic had on the far side there, but he wasn't spotted, and Watford now gets someone back to mark it, but David Luiz gives it away. David Luiz-esque inside the centre circle. Capoue onto Deulofeu, back to Keane, and Watford now have it on the left-hand side with Pereira. Chelsea fall back into a defensive formation once again. Deulofeu midway inside the Chelsea half, support from the teenager Keane, the Portuguese youngster. He's now got it just outside the penalty area on the left, infield to Deulofeu. He's got a side of goal, and then Kovacic makes a good tackle and wins it off him briefly, but he can't hold on to it, so Watford remain on the attack. Pereira to Keane, good turn of direction there. Now he's got to hold off N'Golo Kante, which is much harder said than done, and N'Golo Kante's actually fouled him, so a free kick to Watford, just outside the penalty area, left-hand side.
Very dangerous place there, and Kanté goes down there. There's no need to go in there, but you know, Kanté's so good usually nicking the ball in those sort of positions. He tries to nick it there, but he doesn't get it, and because of the little nudge, the referee's absolutely spot on. That's a free kick. That's an incredibly dangerous area, because it's, you know, about 6 yards out, you know, from the byline. They're just outside the 18-yard line. You can't defend it quite like a corner, so it's an unusual one to set up for. So you expect to zip the ball in here with a little bit of bend towards the back post.
So this is dangerous as Watford go in search of their second equaliser of the game. Pereira runs over it. Holebas delivers, and it's headed away by Kovacic. Only as far as Keena, who didn't fancy a replica of Pereira's full volley. Delafeu tries to thread one in low, but nobody's on his wavelength, and it goes through to the goalkeeper.
I have no idea why Pereira didn't take the free kick in the first place. I mean, you go and play a left footer on the left hand side, it's curling away from goals, it's much easier to defend. I mean, it's a nightmare for the goalkeeper in the centre half. Pereira's delivery is fantastic anyway. He just runs and trots over the ball. Don't think that was the best call.
Here's a stat for you. Chelsea have only lost one of the last 38 Premier League games in which Eden Hazard has scored in, but that one game was against Watford last February. Hazard, who's on the score sheet already twice this evening and now chasing his hat-trick at Vicarage Road. He's on the ball at the moment. He's got Willian ahead of him out on the left wing as Chelsea come forward, and they're going to win a corner here. Kicker Firmino puts it out. Corner to Chelsea, who lead 2-1. 15 minutes to play.
I'll get you to look up the minute hat-tricks that Eden Hazard scores, because I don't think there'll be too many hat-tricks in his career.
That's a good question.
Of his 100 goals for Chelsea.
So corner to Chelsea. Willian to take. Waits for the signal for the referee. Here it comes, right-footed from Willian, in swinging, all sorts of pushing and shoving going on in there, and the referee blows the whistle, and that is going to be a free kick out for Watford.
Just, you know, the way it is at the moment, not just this game, but all the games this week and the last few days, you know this isn't finished. You know there's 15 minutes to go. It's not just going to kind of simmer out to the end of the game and Chelsea are going to see it out. It's not that kind of game. Watford they've got plenty of energy left. They're going to attack, they're going to get into dangerous areas. As we speak, David Luiz has given a free kick away there against Dini. I think actually Luiz is pretty unlucky there. I think Dini's been very clever, just leaning back into him there, waiting for it. 6.5 a dozen. However, the referees favoured Luiz a couple of times before. This time he's favoured Troy Dini, so you can't blame him. He's just been fair. So again, ball in a dangerous area. This time I think it's Delafeu. Is he over it? It's a classic one for Delafeu. He should be putting it in this time. Let's see if they do that, or Pereira has a shot.
Pereira in discussion with Holebas. Chelsea have got everyone back behind the ball. Watford 1, Chelsea 2. We're in the 77th minute.
Dini's on his own at the back.
Right, let's see if Pereira can find him. It's played in. It's too short for that. David Luiz doesn't fully deal with it, but that was because he was pushed in the back, and that'll be a free kick to Chelsea.
Do you know, sometimes you watch it and you think, what is going on? There were two players at the back post, well, not at the back post, but in the 18-yard line at the back. There were two Watford players and only one Chelsea player. One of those Watford players was Troy Dini, and the only one was Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now, you wouldn't want him marking Dini anyway, but he had two players to mark there. They should have spotted that, Watford, and got that ball to the back post to Dini.
Eden Hazard, by the way, asking about hat-tricks. He scored one this season against Cardiff. I think he's got certainly 2 hat-tricks for Chelsea. There may be more.
Apart from
going against Newcastle.
Not many get them, you know, out with. Everybody thinks that players get many hat-tricks in their career. They're very, very rare if you're not a centre-forward.
2014, long time ago, he got one against Newcastle. And he scored one this season. He's on a hat-trick here, Eden Hazard, as Delafeu on the far side for Watford. Watford aren't out of this yet. This isn't over. 2-1 is not a secure lead for Chelsea. Holebas, crossing position on the left-hand side. Hudson-Odoi comes back to try and keep tabs on him. And Hudson-Odoi has done well. He's won possession off Holebas, and now Chelsea will look to counter-attack. N'Golo Kante into Hazard. Oh, it's tired legs trying to get back now for Watford. Look at the run from N'Golo Kante into the penalty area. Shoots low and shoots wide. N'Golo Kante, who has scored 5 goals ever for Chelsea, he won that on the edge of his own penalty area. Hudson-Odoi won it and gave it to him. He ran the length of the pitch to get onto the return pass, and he puts it wide.
So if you're anti-Kante playing in that position, you'll say, oh, what a terrible finisher. But you look at the run he's made there and the effort he's put in. He's run for his own 18-yard line at full pace to get on away from everyone else and just dragged it slightly wide. Brilliant run.
Away by David Luiz. Anywhere will do sort of clearance, which comes down inside the centre circle. N'Golo Kante mops it up though, gets it back on the deck and under control. And now Hudson-Odoi, he's not controlled that very well.
That's a bad ball into him.
It was a bad ball into him, but he didn't control it. And now Doucouré crosses from the left. What a chance! Oh, just over the top from Deeney. That was very nearly a brilliant goal. He hit it with the outside of his boot. He's running to the front post and he just clipped it over the top. So close to an equaliser.
Yeah, and to be honest, it was quite ridiculous there that David Luiz has turned around and had a go at Callum Hudson-Odoi. That's not his fault. The ball played into him by Azpilicueta. You have to have consideration of the pass. That ball was bounced into him, chest height, with two players around him. That was an impossible ball to take that. No blame for me on Callum Hudson-Odoi there. Troy Deeney came very close there. He did everything just about right. Got in front of Leeds. If it was on target, I think that was a goal.
So change for Chelsea, and Ross Barkley comes on as a substitute in place of Kovacic. Ross Barkley, who turns 25 this month. So it's still Eden Hazard operating as the centre forward, if you like, and he's been beaten in all the headers with Cathcart enjoying playing against a player who's much shorter than he would normally be used to. Challenging for those headers. Mind you, when the ball's on the deck, it's a completely different matter, and Hazard's getting the better of him. Still just the one goal in it as we creep into the final 10 minutes now.
That's better from Hazard. He's held up the ball much better there. Just waits for the hit in the back. Rolls over. Keen to see Ross Barkley getting a few chances. Him and Loftus-Cheek have been in and out a little bit. Neither's really made the position his own. It always seems to be Kovacic is the first choice, but Ross Barkley had a little golden period for 3 or 4 games there, and you thought he's going to make that push on. He's going to be absolutely superb. And then he just faded away a little bit again. I think that's a lot got to do with not being able to play every single week.
Confirmation from Rob Northwood, our producer, that Eden Hazard has scored 2 hat-tricks for Chelsea. So it's Cardiff this season, Newcastle many years ago. He's only the 4th Chelsea player to score more than 1 hat-trick in the Premier League. The other Chelsea players, Pat Nevin, I feel a quiz coming on here.
Well,
the other Chelsea players to score more than 1 hat-trick in the Premier League.
Well, apart from Didier Drogba.
Drogba, good start.
Lampard, possibly.
Yes, Frank Lampard.
Don't know the other one.
Knows his onions, this Pat.
Don't know the other one.
Slightly older era, slightly before those first 2. Centre forward. Dutch.
Oh, Jimmy Floyd
Hasselbank. Capoue runs into N'Golo Kante, who's deemed to have fouled him, and Watford get a free kick close to the halfway line. Do you know who scored the most hat-tricks of the Premier League era? What player has scored the most hat-tricks?
I'd have went for Shearer, maybe.
Alan Shearer, 11 hat-tricks in the Premier League. Wow.
By the way, I've never got this many questions right in my life. The guy called Colin Murray, who's listening in just now, who cannot believe this. He asks me questions all the time.
Right, Delafeo's going off for Watford. Isaac Success comes on to replace him. He's scored 3 goals this season for Watford, 1 of them in the Premier League, 2 in the League Cup. Watford searching for a late equaliser here, trailing 2-1 at home to Chelsea.
Success was very dangerous in his game against Everton when we went to see them. However, he seemed to have a bit of an inner ear problem, if you know what I mean.
Okay, hang on, here's a chance. Cathcart controls in the penalty area, tries to flick it in. Success comes off the top of his head, nearly comes back to him again, Isaac Success, but it was bouncing in front of him high and it wouldn't come down, and Chelsea are relieved to clear it away. There's a sense here that Watford are throwing the kitchen sink at this. They sense an equaliser is possible. Hazard back defending on the edge of his own penalty area, heads it away. A reminder, the lines are open for 606 08085 909 693. Your chance to get on the air tonight on 5 Live and talk about what's been an exhilarating day of football. Here comes Hazard, right hand side for Chelsea. Watford have got plenty players back. He tries to flick it into N'Golo Kante. Cathcart and Holebas between them will mop it up, and then Pereira just about holds on to possession, gives it back to Holebas again, and Watford must build from deep again. 7 minutes of normal time to go. Remember, the 2 goals that were scored in the first half of this game both came in stoppage time at the end of the half.
Yeah, and there's a belief about this Watford side that they're going to get another chance. They had that chance with moments before, but Troy Deeney got to the near post, and they feel as if there are opportunities there. If they can just get the ball into those corners and get some decent crosses in. Maybe they've been a bit reticent about putting enough crosses in. Well, certainly Deeney thinks that's the case anyway.
Yeah, that's really the only sniff at goal that Deeney's had in the game. He made a great run to get there, and he just put his foot under the ball fractionally too much and spooned it up over the crossbar. Capoue in possession for Watford. 2-1 down here at home to Chelsea, who were beaten, of course, last weekend by Leicester. Mariappa onto Kina, a young Portuguese player holding it up here on the edge of the penalty area. Left foot across, comes in low. Isaac Success tries to trap it, but it bounces away from him. And then as Jorginho clears away, Success definitely tripped him. Referee was close to it and waves play on. Chelsea do play on with Eden Hazard under pressure now from Doucouré. Oh, he's tough stuff, Hazard, the way he's holding up there. Succession of fouls, and eventually the referee, Martin Atkinson, blows the whistle. It's a cumulative effect. He points back at the other incidents that all happened there, and there was a succession of fouls and ultimately a free kick to Chelsea, who are going to make a change. And on comes Emerson, who has not played in the Premier League this season. He's been playing in the Europa League and the League Cup. He comes on.
There's got a lot of booing from the Chelsea fans. They're very upset that Callum Hudson-Odoi's been taken up.
Hudson-Odoi, who, just for listeners who've not been with us for the whole game, came on as a substitute, Pat, and now he's been taken off.
Well, he's not had that much of an impact in the game. If you've been brought on and taken off again, there is a level of embarrassment about it. In the end, if you're a manager, it doesn't matter. You must do what's right for the team. However painful it is for the young lad, you have to learn, you have to go on. He's had a number of more minutes in the Premier League, that's fine. Chelsea have to see this out with a bit more defensive strength in that left-hand side. They need to use Emerson, who will clearly give them a much more defensive outlook.
No, and that's all very good and accurate, Pat, but we all know in football there's a stigma about being a sub being sub. More on that in a moment. Hazard into the penalty area, down the right hand side, back heels to himself, defender sliding all around, and Hazard wins a corner, goes off Capoue and out for a Chelsea corner.
By the way, I think Hazard was offside there, but carry on. Hudson, no, you're right. In the end, however painful it is, and the stigma about it, about coming on, and you're angry and you're furious as a player, if it gets your team 3 points, you might have lost 2. It is the correct decision. It is absolutely the correct decision. Painful though it is, and slightly embarrassing. By the way, he shouldn't be embarrassed. He's managed to get a game in this team, which is not easy.
Willian's corner, headed away by Doucouré, only out as far as Jorginho, just too high, struck it from outside the penalty area, always rising, needed a little dip which didn't arrive, and that goes out for a goal kick to Watford. Right, they've got 3.5 minutes here, the home side. 3.5 minutes to try and nick an equaliser and make it 2-2.
I think when we get some phone calls after the show, I think some Chelsea fans will be concerned about that, because they do love Callum Hudson-Odoi. They know him as a player.
Here comes Doucouré in front of Kina into the penalty area. Oh, he turned, but he turned like an ocean liner. He was slow as he turned, and he allowed the challenge from Emerson to come in.
Specifically from Emerson.
That's why Emerson was brought on.
Exactly, and that's the reason. They know there's a danger. There's an overlap over there. I think Alonso's looking a little bit tired as well. Needs a bit of help back there, and that's exactly what's happening.
In the trade-off between, as the ball's got out of play, the trade-off between the brittle confidence of a young teenager and the securing of 3 points, Maurizio Sarri has gone.
Well, the other side of it, and again, I don't want to preempt the phone calls later, but Callum Hudson-Odoi is a really mature young lad. He speaks fabulously. He actually is mature enough to cope with that. He'll be fine.
You get it, right.
Some may not be. I'm confident he will.
Watford 1, Chelsea 2. Clearance by the goalkeeper, Aretha Balaga. Watford trying to pump it forward, but Jorginho gets it back here on the halfway line. This is 5 Live from the BBC. Chelsea heading back into the Premier League top 4 as it stands, as Ross Barkley rolls one in front of Willian. Good defending by Holebas, who swept across from left back, got in around Willian, who's not giving up without a fight here. He hustles for it, and it'll be a goal kick. Chelsea want to the corner. Referee says goal kick. No time to waste for Ben Foster, who's the player who gave away the penalty that allowed Chelsea to take the lead here. He, as much as anyone, would love an equaliser, as N'Golo Kante battles and inevitably wins it in the midfield. He's had a very advanced role today. N'Golo Kante, he's been playing in a forward role. He's Got into the penalty area a lot in this match, and yet when he's needed to dig in and play that defensive role, he can do it so effortlessly as well, as Barkley plays it to Marcus Alonso on the left-hand side. Marcus Alonso gets it back off Emerson. Now he's attacking the penalty area. Hazard inside. Oh, it was rolled. Willian will shoot low. Oh, it's gone through the goalkeeper, and so fortunate for Ben Foster, it goes wide. It just snuck underneath him. He went down slowly. The ball went under him. Ben Foster is a very lucky man that went wide.
Oh, yes. Stunningly lucky that went wide. It was actually too easy for him. He goes down and says, oh, this is just cruising down there. And he completely misses it. He seems to have his hand both hands on it.
It takes a deflection, to be fair, but still, he gets there, doesn't he? And he's got to get it. He's got to get that.
He's got to get that. And he'll know that himself. Maybe slightly affected by, the penalty kick earlier on that he flew in, gave it away unnecessarily.
Corner to Chelsea. They've been all pedantic here, saying Pereira isn't back the full 10 yards, and it's all eating into the clock. 30 seconds of normal time to go. It's been a good game to finish off our Boxing Day fare of live action. 6:06 coming up very shortly here on 5 Live as Willian rolls the ball into the penalty area. Barkley tries to turn, got it caught between his feet a little bit. Comes back to Jorginho, and now David Luiz. That's an excellent ball to Willian. Steps into the penalty area on a post, flashes it across. Rudiger couldn't quite get the head onto it, and it's kept alive on the far side by Marcus Alonso. Watford 1, Chelsea 2. Seconds of normal time remaining. We're about to find out what's going to be added on for stoppages. Watford have worked so hard tonight, but at the moment are going away with nothing. 4 minutes being added on. Rudiger in possession inside the Watford half. N'Golo Kante gives it to Willian, playing on the right wing now. Hazard's made a run inside him. Hazard's really hungry to get the hat-trick here. He would love a third hat-trick for Chelsea. Chelsea hold on to possession, send it back to the halfway line. Rudiger to Barkley. Troy Deeney is still ploughing away down there, trying to put pressure as Emerson comes forward. He's got fresh legs, having recently come on as a substitute. Alonso ahead of him, and back into the midfield again. And Barkley goes down easily under a challenge, and that's a free kick to Chelsea, and that'll eat into the clock a little bit further. Pat Nevin.
They've actually held the ball really well the last 3 or 4 minutes, Chelsea. They passed it really quickly. It's hard work for Watford, although give them a due. They're not giving up, Watford. They've worked so hard, but they're now getting picked off in these wide areas.
Here comes Azpilicueta down the right hand side for Chelsea, tackled well by Holebas. Right, Watford have got it back. What can they do with it? Pinned back in their left full back position. Holebas took too long in clearing it, and it allowed Azpilicueta to take the sting out of that clearance, and Chelsea get it back. Hazard, middle of the midfield, gets away from Capoue. Watford players are looking tired now. Capoue shuffles it onto Keena, who manages to elude Emerson and rolls it in front of Kiko Firmino, who's on his bike up over the halfway line. Chelsea players falling back into a defensive formation. Not long to go now. We're in stoppage time. Terrible ball by Quina. Gives it away to Willian. Now here is Hazard, challenged by Cathcart, and it's out for a Chelsea throw.
Yeah, and they keep on going, and it's exhausting, and you have to add on to the fact that there have been so many games at this time of the season, and they're a hard-working team, Watford, but there are gaps opening up now. Chelsea is likely to score as Watford, maybe slightly more likely to score because of those gaps at the back. They've been really brave all the way through it, but maybe in this second half they've not quite made enough chances, Watford, and that's been the problem. When they've had the chance to get it in the box, they've not really done it, and there hasn't been enough cuteness in that final third either so far.
Watford fans beginning to make their way towards the exits. Those turkey sandwiches won't eat themselves. There's homes to go to. Their team is coming. I don't think there will be too many complaints tonight, albeit, the goalkeeper is going to get a few questions. Ben Foster giving away that penalty. But overall, Chelsea have just been too good in the arm wrestle the game became, as Deeney flicks it on here and David Luiz heads it away, and N'Golo Kante mops up. Oh, but hang on, given away by Barkley to Isaac's success. It ain't over yet. Into the penalty area he goes, tries to cross, N'Golo Kante recovers, and the ball goes out for a corner. Watford are going to get one last big throw of the dice, and all the outfield players are going forward for it.
Yeah, Barkley, he's just come on. He's maybe not quite at the pace of the game, but he's a poor mistake there, made the wrong decision, tried to play a pass that wasn't on, gives another chance.
Ben Foster wants to go forward, and I think Javi Gracia is not looking at him, but Ben Foster's all right. Damn it, I'm going anyway. He's made the mistake to concede the goal. Come on, can he make amends? Holibas stands over the corner. Here it comes from the Greek international. High towards the back post, header one down, attempted volley by the goalkeeper. Now there's no one in goal as Hazard comes away. Good challenge by Keita. Bicycle kick from Foster, and it's held onto by Aretha Balaga. Ben Foster is now trying to get back moments after channeling his inner Cristiano Ronaldo, attempting a bicycle kick as N'Golo Kante is held up well in midfield. Foster manages to get back to the safety of his penalty area. Late drama at Vicarage Road.
It was madness there. There were about 3 occasions where N'Golo Kante could have shot from about 50, 60 yards, and each time he thought, no, better not, better hold on to it, do the professional thing. But a mad few moments there.
Here come Chelsea again. Marcus Alonso to Willian, to Hazard on his hat-trick, tries a little round the world turn in the penalty area, still has it, back on himself, left-footed shot, saved by Foster, and it comes back to the goalkeeper and he wallops it away, and that's the final action. Oh, what a good game of football that was. Chelsea beat Watford, 2 goals from Eden Hazard. They move back ahead of Arsenal and they move into the top 4 once again. Pereira scored for Watford, who gave it everything, Pat, but just not enough in the end.
Not enough in the end, and you, if you're Watford, you're proud of your players there because the work rate has been brilliant. Coming back into it when they were down 1-0 just before half time, but in the end, quality showed through, and the quality was Eden Hazard above everyone else. When he was put centre forward, the vast majority of people are saying, no, it's not a good idea. Well, he's just got his team 3 points today, so maybe it's not that bad an idea.
That was good fun, it really was. Chelsea have bounced back from their home defeat to Leicester at the weekend. They have beaten Watford away at Vicarage Road. It finishes Watford 1, Chelsea 2.